Hi everyone, welcome back to our series of videos called Own It. Our last video was Own Your Mindset, and we talked about how we can own our mindset, that is the optimistic mindset. And in that, Gunjan and I, we both talked about the part that, when you are in the process or in the journey of owning your true optimistic mindset, it's all about talking to yourself or, reminding yourself that what exactly you want. And taking that idea, that thought forward, today we have our video, and the topic for today is owning your inner voice. So, Gunjan, what do you have to say about this thing, owning your inner voice?
So, owning your inner voice is I think it's such a big part of your own life, because I guess it always starts with understanding that inner voice, because every one of us has like our own monologue going inside us. We are talking every day, but we are talking to ourselves as well. If you're not doing that, I think that's like a kind of a trouble sometimes, because that inner voice is talking to you. So I would say we can start about like how we identify that inner voice. Like, I would like to know that how do you felt like the first time you actually acknowledged that you have this person talking to you all day? So what was your story?
So, for me, I would say it started quite young in the school time only, because I have been in that journey of from introvert, had that journey and transformation, and then I became an extrovert. In the primary classes, it was more like I was that shy kid. So for me, it was more of like, talking to myself, and always, you have this kind of thing, and I still have it. So, building up scenarios in your brain of different situations. You goofed up in the situation, and then you keep thinking, and you again, imagine that scenario. Oh, I could have talked this way and I would have been better, or I would have given a better befitting reply. So that scenario used to keep running during the childhood time, and it still happens, when I'm, thinking about my clients. Okay, this is how I'm going to talk to the person, tomorrow in the meeting. So that's how that, my journey of starting to talk to myself, it started, because as an introvert, I did not have so many friends to talk to. So I was my own friend. And that's how I started talking to myself. How had it been for you, Vijay?
Oh, it's so crazy. Like, because this is so cool. Like, because I didn't saw this coming, because I'm an extrovert. I've been always the extrovert. I would say that because I was always surrounded by people. And I guess my journey started a bit late, because I do understand that like making these scenarios was in our head always, and I did. And you don't even realize, like, I actually never realized that I'm judging someone, or like doing things, or like, judging us, how do you say, like situation on the basis of what I'm talking to myself. Like, and I never thought about that, because it's like that's like the inner monologue, and I'm just like, yeah, it makes sense, it doesn't make sense, I should not do this, like it's always going on. For me, it started a bit late, like in terms of finally identifying it, like that, oh, actually it's me who is talking to myself, and I'm the one who's making all of this decision, or working towards whatever, like, taking care of situations or talking to people. It's all coming through that voice, because that voice is like either it gets scared, or it gets very motivated, or like very like knows it sometimes, or sometimes tells you that okay, this is not right and everything, and you just accept it for some big reason. You don't even like second guess it, and you're just like, yeah, because this is what you feel. And I guess for me, it was more of like that it was one person always, like that this is me and this is my voice, like, so it means it's me. But it was later in my life that I realized actually it's just not you. Like that you first identify that this is your thing, but then you also understand that it's kind of influenced by everyone around you. So yes. How they're talking to you. So did you ever feel that, like that you are not saying what you feel, it's more about what others said to you, and you say it out loud in your head?
Yeah, and in fact, before that, I want to say, because I feel why you actually realize it late, I feel because, when when do we really actually come to know about it's our own voices? That when we are alone and not surrounded by too many people and the chatter is not there. So when we have that silence, it's when we, are able to understand, oh, okay, it's me who's talking to myself, it's my inner voice. So probably that must have been the reason in your case, that it took you time and you found that solace and you got more grounded, that you were able to identify your inner voice. And true, Gunjan, that you said that that is actually, when it comes to me as a coach also, when I'm talking to my clients, that's how I help them differentiate also. Because a lot of times our inner voice or the monologue is influenced by our environment and the things we have been taught, the stereotypes that we have been living with. So sometimes when we have been, bombarded with so many perspectives of our families and the society, and we do something which is contrary to that stereotype. So then there is this voice that might judge you, and then that might question you that what you are doing. But then you have to question that voice also, that is it true? What your voice is telling you. You have to actually distinguish whether it's actually just a mere thought or a fact. Then you realize that, it's your true inner voice or something else. What do you have to say about that?
I think that's what exactly I was coming to, like you asking yourself your question. And I think that's the first initial part of anyone's growth. I think I read about it somewhere that like you only start like growing towards your true self once you ask yourself the question, is this is right? Like, is this is what you are, And yes, exactly. I really feel that. I read like a book which is called Untethered Soul. And in that book, there was this small exercise that person gave. And he's like, okay, this person is talking to you all day. And you, for no reason, not even thinking about it. Like, because this is for the people like when you don't even have started that journey, where you question it. Like that, yeah, is this your voice? You put that person out, like sit with that person, and the exercise was like that you sit and you talk. Now you talk to that person, like listen to that person, what they're saying, and suddenly start like not listen to it like as if like it's all personal. Listen to as if like you're listening to some other person and you're trying to understand that how this person is behaving or acting. And then suddenly you will realize that there is so many things which you didn't even thought was not coming from you. It was coming from someone told you and you truly believed it. Because I guess it starts from as a childhood where your parents are telling you something and then your friends are telling you something. And as soon as your parents say something, suddenly you're like, okay, this has to be right. Because as a kid, we always listen to them and we always feel that they know us better than us. And you grow with that kind of thoughts like that. Oh, but they said that I'm this, but like, and then suddenly you're like, no, but I'm not that, So that happens. So I was coming to the point like that, like once you sit with that person, that inner voice, put it out and see how it makes you feel and what all you learn. It's like, it's crazy. The crazy amount of things you go through every day. You just would not know that, oh God, like this is how you were thinking and all that, So yeah, I believe in this, like that you do this but do you listen? It's like now the second part comes in. Then once you know that this is your voice and everything, but do you really listen to it every day in the sense like, do you do things still like the way it says or how it is?
Actually, to be honest, yes. Listening to my inner voice is a very important part of my routine because I have always, listened to my inner voice and taken decisions as per that. So it has really been something, like a game changer for me, because at times there were situations where everybody around me said to me, you're taking a wrong decision. But my inner self told me, no, this is what you need to do, Uzma. This is what is right for you. And I did it. And trust me, that decision turned out to be an amazing decision of my life. Like, probably quitting my job and starting my own business was one of the things that I did when people around me in COVID were saying that you have completely lost it, that you are, people are just clutching on to their job so that they get the money and you are planning to leave it. So I'm like, this is what my inner voice is telling me, so I'll do it. And I think that has been the best decision of my life ever, in terms of changing my mindset and everything, the work-life balance and all other things. So yeah, I do feel that I take out time, I do it very much intentionally, Gunjan, to be honest. Now it has become in my life that I sit with myself for some time, especially in the morning. I usually do my gratitude journaling. So I, start my day so that it becomes positive. So along with that, I take out some time to sit and, kind of collect my thoughts. And sometimes even when I am about to sleep, so that's sometimes, I close my eyes and I do my visualization also. So there it's more like, it's an intentional positive self-talk that I do with myself. And hearing that, somehow it changes, the entire you can say neuroplasticity, as it is said, it changes your mindset and everything.
Yeah.
So that's how I do it. What's your routine when it comes to listening to your
voice? So if I ask you, was it like always a positive inner voice you had, like, or it kind of built with it? It was not, right?
Never.
Because I totally agree. Where you are at, like, I think that's like the best place where you should be when you become friends with it. But how it was like before this, when you were like, because I just want to know, because for me it was really crazy, because my inner voice was like an aunt, that like that kind of judgemental aunt, like, who's just like telling you, is like, no, you don't do this, you don't like this, like that. So how it was earlier?
To be honest, it still is. The struggle is still there, Gunjan, that especially if you are somebody who, like you and I, we discussed at length in our previous video about the optimistic mindset. So when you're positive, you are a performer also. You want to perform, you want to do good things. So when you have that in you, that bug is there in you. So if you commit a mistake, you become your biggest critic at that time.
Exactly.
And that is there with me big time. One small negative feedback if I get from my client or something, if I don't do as per my expectations, oh my god, it's like the entire day that chatter is there. Uzma, you're not good enough, this is not meant for you, why did you do this? But then you have to, what you said right, just a couple of minutes back about that tool. I think I'm going to steal that tool and I'm going to give it to my clients also. That when you have that person sitting outside and then you try to listen to the person and try to actually negotiate, or you can say rationalize with that voice of yours, then you realize, no, it's not like that. You're just being too hard on yourself. I just want to give here one very interesting example. I got stop myself. I was coaching one of my clients a couple of days back, and she's a writer, so she's very good with words. But she has this severe issue of self-inner critique and self-sabotaging and procrastination. So even if she does something good, she would not acknowledge that, and she would be too hard on herself. She said to me that, Uzma, I have given this, aim to myself that I am going to write until my fingers start paining. This much I need to write. So I said to her that, is it something to motivate you or to start hating the thing that you love the most? Why didn't you say to yourself, I would write until I start dancing with happiness or something like that? And she said to me, now that I'm hearing from you, it's actually sounding like a punishment rather than motivation. And I was like, that's the magic of your inner voice,
Yes, it is true. Like, because the inner voice can actually make you start hating things, because you start being like so, like, critic, like you have that critic for your own self, and you actually see yourself the worst way. That you always be like, oh, you could have done better, or you should not have done this. And the voice like that, oh, like, no, you can't do that, like, or you are saying something that oh, you are bad at it, you're never gonna change, this is not it. And it's so crazy that for me it happened like when my one really close friend, she told me, because I've been very like, I am a kind person in terms of like taking care of others or empathetic, like I've been always that, and I do like that. It's like I like being this person, And then suddenly she just like revert back and she's like, are you kind to yourself? And I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, what do you mean by that? She's like, how do you talk to yourself? And I'm like, I don't know, because I didn't want to say what the fuck I'm talking to myself. And then she's like, so just try to be kind to yourself and try to be your best friend first. And I'm like, like, you know, like suddenly you're just like, oh, that makes sense. Because she's like, the way you talk to others, it's exactly the way you should talk to yourself. Because when you are around others, like, they do feel motivated, they feel happy because you're giving that to them. And certainly when it comes down to myself, I'm like, no, you're bad, this is so, like, you could have done better, like, or you should not have done this, or you should not have said that, and you know, like, all of that. And suddenly that entire thing, after her conversation, it kind of changed a bit. And then I became more and more conscious. I became conscious about, like, listening and again thinking, it's like, is it true that if inner voice starts saying that, oh, you're shit, and you just make it different? I was like, no, but I'm not. You know, you start fighting back, but like, I'm not. It's just the bad day, you know, like something like this. And then you change the narrative of your thing. So did you also work in somehow like to start talking to your inner voice in a different manner, or what?
Yes, absolutely. So, for me, there were two main things that I did to myself, Gunjan. One was being very much mindful about the kind of words I'm using when I'm talking to
Yeah,
myself. So,
that's
changing that. Especially, I'll tell you, as an entrepreneur, like we took it as a joke, and we were like, when you're happy, when you're broke, and if you're happy, that's good for you. But I used to in joke also say around to people, oh, I'm broke, I'm not earned anything. Even despite the fact that I had a good earning every month, this became kind of a habit of me, to saying it to myself. And then I felt that this is really giving me a lot of negative energy in a way that I was not able to acknowledge my success, and it made me feel like a loser every month, despite the fact I had even made profits. Because I got into the habit, oh, I'm broke, it's just that entrepreneur
there's
life.
like the
There's that.
complaining.
Yeah. And then I checked myself that I am not going to use these words for myself at all. Even if I do not make profit, no, I will not say this. So one is, the kind of words that I use for myself, I stopped using these harsh vocabulary words. And, we are like this. I mean, even if something small happens, we'll be like, oh, I'm so devastated. My life has got ruined. These are such hard words and that's what our subconscious mind is hearing, and it starts believing that. And the second is the tone. How, like, I would never scold my friends, even if they have done the shittiest thing in the world. Sometimes,
Yes.
Even if you feel like giving them a punch, like, dude, what have you done? But you'll be like, it's okay. Let's handle it together. It's okay. But when it comes to us, our tone becomes like, oh God, Uzma, you're the biggest loser in this
I
entire
told you.
universe. Yeah.
The critical, like, critic auntie. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Like, auntie is not happy for anything. she will just tell you that you are the loser of all. And then suddenly you are like, do I do that? But yeah, this is so right. Like, the words, it's also about being kind. It's also about the words you're using for yourself or your situation. So I always used to say this, like, in the sense, I mostly introduce this way, like, that I'm Gunjan and I'm awesome. And I didn't understood this, like, for a while, that this is me actually being kind and actually giving the affirmation to my own self that yes, you are awesome and you can do things. Although, like, sometimes it comes out like being cocky and being like, oh, you have too much confidence. But I'm like, no, like, I think I became awesome by doing things. And now I'm very settled with it. That's why I can say it. So yeah, this is so true. The way you are talking or you're giving out things about yourself does make a difference. And oh God, like, complaining. I think complaining is a part of normal lifestyle. I feel I realize this, like, that we do complain about things for not even, like, thinking about. We are not mindful about it. We just say it. Something doesn't go by our way, we just be like, oh, this is shit. And I live in Berlin, and that's what was like a stereotype for Germans, that they complain a lot. And when I met them and I realized, I was like, yes, you do. You do than me. But then you also become mindful that if someone else is complaining, you don't add to it, you know? And this is where your inner voice plays, because as soon as someone else complains, your inner voice start complaining about it. But then you have to stop about it, and then it's like, but do you really feel the weather is shit? And then you're just like, either don't say a word or just be nice about it. It's like, because it's weather. I can't even take care of it, you know? I can't be a cloud and change the weather, you know? So I guess, like, yeah, I think I was also very complaining in terms of my own way, complaining about the way you say things, complaining about, like, what did you thought about things, like why this person is like this, you should have been that, and everything. I think that also we had to be mindful and thought about it, that okay, stop it and start working. That also comes with it, right?
Yes. Yeah, in fact, this is like actually a very powerful thing that we can question ourselves. Is this something that's in our control? If
Yes.
not, then stop
Oh, yes.
complaining.
That's what I
You know?
say this to a lot of people. It's like, can you do something about it? If you can, then do. But yeah, a lot of time people get very annoyed by that, because if someone is complaining, you just can't be like, okay, don't do it. So I try to make a joke out of it. I mostly try to do any kind of jokes around anything if anyone complaining, because I just want them to let them know that this is very temporary, and I think this should not bother you. Because if this bothers you, then there is a hell lot of life which gonna happen, and then gonna, like, you know, you should be prepared for it, that kind of stuff. Yeah,
Absolutely. It's actually, Gunjan, all about where you put your focus into.
oh yeah,
Right, you know, if you and when you are mindful throughout the day, like, you know, after every 3-4 hours, you ask yourself this question also, that where is my focus right now? So when you see and you check that, so you tend to correct yourself if your focus is going towards a negative. So most of the time, even when it comes to our inner voice, so if our focus is more towards its negative side, you know, it's we are all actually connecting our all talks and videos here. So it's all about, you know, if our focus is towards the negative thing, our inner voice also goes towards that.
yeah.
So when we turn the steering and focus, change the focus, because awareness is the biggest power. Most of the time, as you said right now, you know, we do it unconsciously, the complaining part and everything. So even our focus towards negative is very unconscious, because our brain is designed by God that way. So we cannot complain that to God. God made us like that, you know, because He made early man. So that was what to be in check with the predators and everything. But our brain has not changed. We have changed in terms of technology. It still goes for the danger and the negative thing first. But then when we know that we are aware of this and we change it to the positive one, our inner voice will also change with that. And then we'll be able to actually be more kind to ourselves and be more productive in what we are doing. What do you have to say about this?
So yeah, you rightly said that it's more about, I guess, the entire self-awareness process, everything which we do in terms of self-awareness, which has become so important to myself right now, and I think with a lot of people, like, who couldn't find answer outside. You know, this is something which comes from different spirituality as well, like that, like when you're growing within, because for me spirituality is all about, like, working on your own self, because now all the questions or the answers you're looking outside, you started asking yourself. And that's when the first step is of that self-awareness comes with this only, that first you know that what you are talking to yourself. And yeah, like, and as soon as you can change that focus, things become so easy somehow, because suddenly you realize that you are giving away a lot of focus on things which not in your control, and suddenly you start, like, looking forward to the places where you could do something, because it's not like that. If your inner voice is talking to you and you're telling you shit, you suddenly be like, but why? You know, asking that reason why. So it's like, it just changes everything as soon as you think about that, why you are thinking the way you're thinking. And then second step comes in, then you give priorities. You give priorities in terms of that, is it important right now for me to think about it, or like, should I give focus to it? If it says yes, then think about it, like, or work it out. Like, then third comes it's like, is it even Like that, is it something which can be coldly changed by you or by someone else? Because yeah, like I sometimes have that thoughts, like you do feel this, that oh, you could have been a better friend, or you could have been this, or he would not have done this because you did this. And suddenly you're just like, but why I'm evaluating everything on my end? Because you don't know the other person's perspective. You don't know what they're thinking and what they felt. It's more about you ask first to yourself and then you ask the other. Because I feel there is a lot of monologue happens within us, where we are trying to solve a situation within ourselves, thinking that this person would react this way. This person is this. I know this person for so long, he should know it. And you forget the normal thing. Ask them. It's like, how do you feel? Just ask them, like, why did you react the way you reacted? Or you're just like, because it's gonna be good for your inner voice then, you know? Like, don't you think it's like we kind of forget about that always?
Yes, in fact, I feel half of the issues of the relationships will be solved if we stop listening to that unnecessary inner voice of ours, and instead of that, cooking all the entire story and the scenario in our brain, go and just talk to the person and communicate it. And then ask, okay, what exactly happened, or what exactly do you feel? And especially, you know, when it comes to expressing our own emotions. So we'll keep it inside, penting up, and then, you know, even in relationship, there's a stage how the relationship actually dies, in which there is a point where, you know, the repression starts. That's actually when you stop sharing things with the other person, and you are getting a little bit, you know, that resistance starts happening, that you don't like anything that the person says. So even the person is saying something positive, you will get irritated, because inside you're the way the, you know, the voice is coming to you, your inner voice is actually turning and twisting it to be something else. So it's better than, rather than cooking up the scenario and blowing it out of proportion, go and speak to the person and let your inner voice come out. Own your inner voice and then say it to the person also.
I think this would be so good, like, because this part would be so good in the work scenario as well. Because all the companies I have worked with, like, or wherever I have worked, I think, yes, it also came like later, because once I realized it, that, okay, I'm not doing this. And first you do self-reflection. It's like, okay, this could be, and it becomes so easy to get to the other person, because now you have self-reflected. You understand that this is your perspective and that happened. And in the work scenario, I think this is very important, that you give it a time for you to understand what happened. And then if you're not getting something, if you feel this person is being agitated, or he's being like trying to manipulate or do something, I would say just go and confront, ask them. It's like, so what do you feel? Like, I think we should build a connection and we should do this, because now what's happening is that your inner voice is in your side. Because otherwise the other person's inner voice will reflect on you, and you suddenly like, oh, I think he's right because you are shit, you know, that kind of stuff. So I guess all of this comes also with you befriending your inner voice. Don't you think that? Yeah,
absolutely. You know, like, it's a simple thing, you know, when it comes to the fact of befriending your voice, is the way, just think it that way, your journey of making somebody your friend. So how do you behave with a friend? You're honest to the friend, you are kind to the friend, you question the friend also when the friend is going wrong in some ways, and you have that proper reasoning with the friend also when the friend is annoyed with you or saying something to you. When you ask the reason, why are you doing this to me, why are you harsh on me, in the same way you have to be with your inner voice. You know, if you just know the recipe of how to make somebody a good friend and how to have that good friendship, you'll be able to do it with your voice also, isn't it, Gunjan?
Yes, it's so sure. The way you said it, like that, you question it and then you ask them and then you actually give reasoning to what it is, it does help. And for me, it was like a long journey to become friends with this thing. And like, you know, like this person inside. And I'm like, why you are mad? Like, why you're so agitated for things? Why you're mad at your own self first? Also, like, it also brought a lot of things which we never understood that been given to us from the society itself. You know, like thinking about that, you always have this notion that you're gonna have a best body, I would say. Yeah, the body shaming part, like the part of like you should be in certain way, you should not wear this and that, and then your inner voice takes that, like, and you're like, oh, you're not perfect, because for some reason by the society norms we need to be perfect. And I just like suddenly had that thought, like that the inner voice was like, yo, but you're not perfect. I was like, then suddenly I just thought, but I don't want to be. So what we are fighting about, suddenly that was the realization which comes in, and you're like, but I don't want to be. I really like what I am, and I don't want to become perfect, because that means that I have to stay to that level all the time, and that's a lot of work. Why would I do that? Like for the personal reasons. Yeah.
True. And I relate to it so much, Gunjan, because to be honest, I do not like cooking. I don't enjoy it at all. I cook well, but I do not like doing the household chores, and I am very honest about it. So now, in India, how things are, and to be an ideal daughter, I have to know the cooking and I have to do things at the house. I do everything else. But for me itself, my inner voice, and it was so much traumatic, and I used to be sad for so long, for years and years. My self-esteem was so low because I never thought that I'm a good daughter, because I always equated it to something. Okay, fine, for my mom also that is the priority, but then no matter what I did, I would always feel sad, and I would always feel that I've never been a good daughter. And that side of mine, that inner critique of mine, it was so ruthless. I've lived with that trauma and that sadness for so long. But then now that, because now I'm in deep studying about mindset and all these things, and how to make boundaries for myself, I'm like, it's okay not to learn something or like something which is like, everybody likes. I can be myself, and I can be vocal about it, and I can be a good daughter despite the fact I don't cook.
Yes.
So now I'm kinder to myself in that case, and I feel that even my mom, like, I try to seek, and my focus goes on the points, because she does appreciate me on other things as well. It's only that my focus was all towards that, and I would always just absorb the negative part and would just neglect all the positive things that even my mother appreciated. But now, like, I'm at peace, because I know that I am a good daughter. It doesn't matter if I don't cook.
Yes.
But yes, I have made peace with myself and with my inner critique in that particular scenario, which had been an issue for me for like a decade or more than that.
Oh God. Yeah, see, this is what I'm saying. It's like you didn't even realize that for some reason your inner voice took it, and it's like, no, this is how it should be. And you don't get it like till the time you do that self-validation, self-reflection. You also look for things which matters to you. And then I guess for a lot of people to start becoming kind as well, first they also need to understand what is good about you. Because if I ask someone what you're good at, I guess this is a society thing, that to like tell something that you're so good at sometimes sounds like very rude, or like that you're arrogant and everything. And as soon as you talk about the weakness, people like, oh, you're vulnerable and you can talk about it. I was like, no, it has to be similar. You need to first be very established in what you're good at. And what you're not good at also comes with it, in the sense you become good with it. The way you said that you don't like cooking, that's okay. And I'm not taking it as a weakness. I'm taking it as like something which I didn't resonate with, because this something is not affecting a lot of lives around you. Think about this. It's like thinking about that, like if a weakness, like people do call like that complaining is a weakness, or like the weakness about that I don't being rude or like arrogant and all that stuff, like it's a weakness. But if you realize it and you still do it, that's on you. But if you live with it and you actually own it, that you own the same way you own your strengths, I think that's perfect. Because I always see this, like if someone asks me what you're good at, I will say it like that, I'm good at this, I'm good at that, and I do this. Because why there should be a shame about it? Why there should be a shame that like that I'm telling you what I'm good at, like how does that make me less? And if they talk about weakness also, I can tell them on the words like, okay, this is, I know I'm working on, or something which, and sometimes it also comes with this, you're not necessary to change every weakness into strength, because that's you. Don't you feel like that this is the combination of both of things which makes you? Then why you have to change your perfection? That's your perfection. It's like that I'm not good with things and that. So I guess like the way you said, becoming friends, it makes your life so easy, because suddenly that friend would be not that harsh on you, and then you would not be harsh to others. Because don't you feel that like the way we treat us, like sometimes we give away that like to others, because I guess that's also comes with it, no?
Absolutely. And then taking it forward from here, Gunjan, that when we achieve this part, that our inner voice becomes our friend, it's the point that we then start growing with it, when it comes to even our personal life or our professional life. Because so you would agree to it, Gunjan, that even when it comes to the life of being an entrepreneur, there are always ups and downs, and there are times when, as we said, that there is no certainty. Last time when you shared this thing, you never know that this month you're going to get money or you're going to be broke. And there, if you are not friends with your inner voice, it could really be a very dark phase for you. So there, when we have become friends with our inner voice, our growth happens. And I feel that's how I have been kind of living with all the stresses of this entrepreneur life. Because whenever there is something negative that happens, or something does not happen in terms of the money thing, or the team not performing, I would immediately, I'll spiral into that inner critic and saying things, okay, was this the right decision to do, or what, this, that, am I actually someone who can actually run a business? I mean, is it something I'm living in a delusion or something? So you can see, you can hear it right now, how the inner critic goes, from one point it goes exponentially. But then now that I've realized that I know that I can be friends, so I would check, I would scold my inner voice with that, right, that this voice is my own friend. And then I would say, just stop, you're being irrational, this happens, you cannot control what the other team member is doing, you cannot control your payments, it is going to come, just wait. And then just like a friend, I'll make that inner voice also understand, and then it goes fine. And that's how I'm able to maintain my sanity, and also to motivate myself to do better. How do you as your inner voice, your friend, how do you handle your entrepreneurial life?
It's like I have a very different approach. So what I did was that I had this inner voice, like I befriended it, but like still it slips, like it still comes back with like all the new arguments. So this time I just gave it like a drag queen as an alter ego. So I have another alter ego which now talks to this inner voice. The alter ego is a drag queen, and she's like so well with her own self, and she knows what she's doing, and nothing goes wrong with her. And then you have the inner voice which always doubts sometimes, or like comes back with this, oh, but how are you gonna do it? And then I just let them talk, because that one doesn't let this one like really wins the argument, because she will always tell her like that, but you're gonna do it, but now you have to shut up, like, because that's it, because we're gonna make things work, because there's nothing, because the confidence level of this drag queen is like way high. So it's crazy that when I see that conversation happening, it is happening with yourself, like, but you just see it. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna go with that one, because that person is more confident, so I'm gonna do what she's saying. So this is what I do. Because in entrepreneurship, it's like, it's all about, first, because you're by self, because in entrepreneurship you are the only person. Now there is no one guiding you, there is no one giving you any kind of perks, or no one is giving you salary for not doing anything for a month, like, because you are fine. But this time, like, now you're by your own self, and that's very important, that either you have that alter ego, or you become really good friends with your inner voice, that they lead you somewhere, because they need to be very supportive, because you need this person inside you, like, needs to be very supportive of what you're doing. Not in all the manners, I would say, because yeah, there has to be a moral compass and everything, but like, this needs to happen. So yeah, so that's like my way of working with it.
So here, one more thing that comes to my mind, Gunjan, is the inner voice is one thing. It's a collection of all the thoughts that our brain makes. But then there is a part which is, called the gut feeling. And that's
Yes.
also kind of your inner voice, but that's a little bit different from your inner monologue that's there, because the monologue can be both positive, negative, and it could be a made up scenario. But gut feeling is something like I strongly believe in the gut feeling and the messages it gives me. What is your perspective about it?
Yeah, you're right. Like, I was coming to that point. I think I just skipped it. That there is an inner voice and there is a true self. Like, the self is the gut feeling. The self is the one which is not touched by other influences. That's what I define it, like the gut. Because the gut is coming from within you and it knows it. It knows some things which you don't realize, but you can actually learn to listen to it. Because yeah, I totally get it. Like, there is an inner voice which is happening, there is a gut feeling, and now the part comes in that how to differentiate it, right? So how do you do that? Like, because it's been a big struggle sometimes for me to realize that is it like the gut feeling or is it the inner voice, but how? So what do you do
So,
with it?
yeah,
Yeah.
because like I have actually done a lot of study in this only, knowing your inner knowingness or your gut feeling. So it's actually this way, Gunjan, that when you sense it in your body somewhere, that feeling, be it in the form of goosebumps or some butterflies in the stomach, or some, for me it's like some energy or some ticklish feeling in the chest. It's your gut feeling. Gut feeling always communicates with us with some kind of physical signal it gives, whereas the inner voice is more like a voice in our brain, which is not necessarily something which is true, because then when it comes to the inner critique part, as we all already discussed, it's influenced by the stereotype, what our parents have said, what our belief system has made. But gut feeling is something which is inside you, which is beyond logics. You cannot rationalize it. Sometimes, many a time, it must have happened with you also, that you cannot justify that thing with your logic, but you know it in your core gut that this is what I want to do. So that is what differentiates the inner monologue which we have to the gut feeling, which is somewhere there inside you that tells you. And I have, in my experience, felt that it's always right for you what your gut tells you. It will never show you the wrong direction.
Yeah,
What have
that's
you
true.
experienced?
That's really true. Like, because as you said, it kept make me thought like about it, that how do I feel my gut? Like, in the sense, like, how do I feel this self is talking to yourself? I guess for me, it's more of goosebumps for sure. And also that like tickling feeling you get when you're going through down the roller coaster ride and you suddenly is like, ew. So I do get that. And I do always get it when I feel like truly excited about something, or I truly know that this is not gonna work out. And yeah, I have done a lot of mistakes in not listening to it, because I think it's a part of working in the sense you really need to learn it. And I would say now meditation, like I am a strong believer in meditation and I meditate like every day. With meditation, I became even much more focused to understand that when it comes like that, what you're feeling, and suddenly you are in the all focus to understand that what is not. Because I felt like, as in personal life, in working life, in entrepreneurship life, every time my gut feeling would be like, nope, this is not gonna work. And I will still not listen. I was like, no, let's give it a try. Like, maybe this can. It always goes down shit. It always go down the hill. And there is a lot of times where you are like, you don't have any background of the company, or you don't have any background of, you haven't made the decision, but your gut feeling is absolutely saying that go for it. You just jump in. Because some days I've been very spontaneous. I am a very spontaneous person, and I think I have led most of my decision made in terms of how you're making me feel, or how this thing is making feel. Yeah, some decision are made in terms of when you're down the road and you're, like your back is to the wall and you really desperate about something. This is something also I felt like, that being desperate, like when you become to that level where your inner voice is killing you and actually kicking your ass, and you're just like, oh, this is the end, this is not gonna happen, you have to do something, and your gut feeling is like, just wait a bit, and you go with your inner voice, and that's it.
Yes.
Then you just regret, you just sit there and you're like, yeah, whatever, I will listen to you next time, but this is it,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
When it comes to, in my experience also, I would say, especially in terms of choosing people in my team, I have always listened to my gut. So, like, I shared this with you also, that, I hired somebody in my team who I felt like, who was out of my budget. My whole team was saying, you're taking a wrong decision, but I knew deep inside my gut that, I need to have this person in my team. It's going to be very good for me. And I took that decision despite all my, behind my back, all my team members saying, she has gone mad, I don't know what she's doing, why she has to always say this, I listen to my gut feeling. And that person turned out to be a gem for my company, and he had been there with my company for so long, worked so hard, had been there like a support system. And not only this, I have always, felt like, I would say, like in your case, you said that you would listen to your inner voice and neglect the gut feeling. But I was lucky enough that I got this thing that through my college days only, I always took all these, weird decisions of my life.
That's a superpower for introverts, because they're so self-reflective. I love to learn from introverts, because I had to do that. The way you said that it came late for me, it's because of that. Because I was so extrovert that I never thought about like inside what's happening. Now I would say I'm more of ambivert, like the where like you're mixed. And that's like the best part of like any introvert like I meet, like, and I'm just like always amazed. It's like, you know yourself way better, Like, maybe I'm good at like talking out, but you are so good. That's all. Yeah.
And it's there that a lot of people fear sitting by themselves,
Oh yes, I had to teach myself that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think it's scary for a lot of people, but trust me, if you start doing it, it's only going to be for your betterment. Because once you know yourself, you understand yourself, you can win the world, I feel.
Yeah, it is so true. Like, and I think Corona kind of helped it. Like, I think moving from like one country to the other did give me that lot of time, that where you just sit by yourself and you're just thinking and you're just like by your own way, like, and you start like dwelling in like what you do. And it's such a, I would say now for me, having my own time has become a priority, because if I don't have that, if I can't be self-reflective about what has happened in the day and how I'm feeling, I'm not gonna go for the second day and just go in, because it's not like that you need to have 1 hour, like, or you have to have 3 hours. It's more about find that time where it's only for you, and that's the time where you can build to understand your inner voice first. Then you build on self-reflection. Then you can build on understanding this gut feeling, because that also came. Then now I always take it seriously, because anything happens and I'm just like, I did got goosebumps, there is something happening here, and then you just go with it, like, and this is where the growth happens with it, right? And like, I don't know what tools you use like to grow within it. Do you still do something to grow with your own self, in terms of like the way you're talking, where you're developing, and how it is going with you, the journey?
Yes, absolutely. Now I have become more intentional when it comes to talking to myself. So, to, it's important to sit for me, even in the small wins that I have for myself, and appreciating myself. So this I have actually made my, I make sure most of the time, and especially when we are in this journey, of our being our own bosses, we forget those small wins and we do not appreciate ourselves. And somehow I feel that actually changes our entire energy. And then even if we have achieved something, we do not feel that much happiness, and we don't feel good enough. And we feel, this is something that, okay, we did it. What does, no big deal in doing that. Everybody does that. But
I do that a lot.
And it's the first time for us. Let's understand, for me, I'm the first one in my family doing this. So it's important for me. And now I have started doing, apart from, silencing your inner critic, yes, that's there, mindful of words, tone is there. But now sitting and actually realizing those small things that I'm doing, and then talking to myself and giving a pat on my shoulder and saying those good things to myself, I am inculcating this in my routine also, Gunjan, and that is what is helping me grow a lot, because that really gives me that push. Oh, come on, now I'll do something even better for the next month. Yay! It's something like that, that energy I feel, and then I start working harder. So that is something which has the growth part, I would say, in which I've truly owned up my inner voice, and it's helping me. What about you?
So, okay, this is so interesting, like, because for me, it is okay. First, I befriended it. Like, I became more kind. I became more aware. That's the part like which changed the entire game, because suddenly you are also aware about how you're treating others, or like how the others making you feel, or what you're doing, because suddenly you create that boundaries as well, right? With that, like, because once you start talking to yourself really right, if someone else come and talk to your shit, you're not gonna take it, because suddenly you made that boundary, because now you yourself don't feel what they're saying is right, and then you can just show up and be like, but you are not right, like, and I'm not gonna take it. So I feel that has happened with me, that it has created that space where no one can come and just bring me down by saying something which I am not, and then suddenly you can question them back, but why would you say that? Because I didn't do this. Because suddenly you are in that present aware self, which is not dwelling in like what the thing is saying, because now that thing is in your side, because they're going to be saying that tell him or her that they are bullshit, so it's like they're like, but you're not bullshit, like tell them, like, and realize that why this is happening. But the second thing which has happened apart from this is that I also become like, as I said, that I use meditation to have that control over mind and over your actions and everything. And I've been meditating quite consistently now, like from past 3-4 months, and it's given, because that's the part of my me time. I have taken that as my me time, and 1 hour of meditation, okay, that's too much for a lot of people, but like 1 hour is necessary for all the things we go through, with all the consumption we have in terms of like things which we have. We need that 1 hour where you just sit still and you meditate. And with that meditation, what happened, it was a very funny story, because I got up and suddenly I'm just like looking around and I'm like, something is missing. And so I realized that I don't have anyone talking anymore, because it has gone shut, silent, and there is nothing. It's just the present. And I'm just like, hello? Like, is there some thought we need to think about something? Because suddenly I'm like, don't we have to worry about something? Don't we have to complain? There has to be something. And I'm just sitting there and I was just like, oh, I can hear the bird noises. This looks nice.
Wow.
So like suddenly you are at that present. So that happened like very recent, I would say. And I am so happy with it, because now there is an inner voice. It's not like that it has gone completely shut, but it's just talking when it's necessary. So it's so crazy, like, because rest of the time I'm just walking around being just aware of what's happening around me, and I'm just like, yeah, this is it. I'm not gonna think about the future. You're not gonna go back and you start thinking sad about it, but it's more about now, this is what I have and this is what it is. So yeah, like, I really recommend everyone to maybe start somewhere, because meditation is very cool. I'd like to think of that. Yeah. Do you do that?
And do it in your... Yes, I do it. And I think do it in your way. You don't have to actually be, in that perfect way of doing meditation. Everybody can customize their own way of, being mindful and, concentrating on something, or just observing the chaos until it becomes calm. And I feel it's okay that even if your way of doing meditation is different from what it is shown in the videos, or all the way, the gurus and everybody is talking, it should work for you. That's what I want to say. My way of meditation is different.
Yeah, I think that's true. Like, I also say that, like, it's not necessary that you follow something or somewhere, because meditation is very personal. It is very personal process. it depends what resonate with you. There is a very different kind of meditation. There is a lot, but all of it actually leads you to one thing, which is that you become more focused and you become more aware. If that is not happening with whatever meditation you're doing, I think there is something which is missing there. And I would always, like, I suggest to people that, like, even going there to start and looking what meditation you should do, first thing you should do is just try to sit silent for 10 to 15 minutes per day. That's enough, because that itself is meditation, because suddenly you will have 1,000 thoughts and you start thinking about those thoughts and you're just like, what is happening? You know, like, this is the meditation. This is how I started, like, where you're sitting and you're just like, okay, there are so many and I need to filter out, like, which works for me, because I can't live with this, because suddenly you are not there where you should be. So yeah, I guess, like, that is like my approach, or like my tool. Again, it's working quite well for me, and I feel like if people can do like, then it's perfect, because all we need is silence. Now we just need peace, for sure. Like, anyhow, and I have realized from being like an escaper as well, like, that you escape from situations, right? And I was like that. I will escape fights, I will escape things, I escape places. And so I'm here, like, I just literally leave the entire country because I couldn't deal with it. But now I have realized, like, I think it's not gonna give you anything till the time your peace and content, like, and your voice is just like, okay, we are fine here, we're gonna be fine everywhere else, and you just become that, right? So
Absolutely.
yeah, and then
So yes.
we come to the point, like, once you have that owning your inner voice, you become that you also try to figure out your true self, don't you think?
Absolutely, because once you know what is your true inner voice and what is your true gut feeling, and you start actually having a positive relationship with both, you are able to embrace who you are at your core and what is your true essence. And I think that's what we are going to talk in our next video, Gunjan, isn't it? What's
Yes,
the topic for the next video?
Yeah, the next topic is own your true self. So next time we're gonna talk about our true self and how we owned it, and then we can give you some, like, insights about it, that how it works, like, and how you become what you are, and you might get to know more about us. But for now, like, I guess that's it for it.
Yes.
And we would like if you can share, like, you can subscribe, because we also share a lot of tools and insights to work on these. And I think we really would like to know what people in a voice is saying. I think they should just write one comment about what is the right inner voice talking, and that would be like fun to watch it. That how we change that. Yes, so then that's it for today.
All right, bye-bye everyone.
Bye.